Janette Stephens. Woo!
Hey, well, I was just going to introduce myself, but hey, Dan introduced me. I'm Janette. I'm the admin here at Team DL, also known as Hardy's Team Jack, and we're super excited to welcome the star of the upcoming film Catering Christmas, Mr. Daniel Lissing. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Janette.
Yes, so glad you could be here. This
My
is a
pleasure.
first for Team DL, so this is probably the safest audience you'll have because everybody
I
here is
know.
friends. Everybody's already a fan. So
I know. It's a built-in. Well, let me just start by saying two things. Number one, thank you for for the fan group and for just posting such quality content and being so kind and generous with your time with it. I really appreciate it. And to the fans that follow Hardy's Team Jack and the ones that don't, make sure you do. Thank you so much for your support and for supporting me, for supporting this fan page. And I am grateful to you all, and I'm very, very happy to be talking here today with you, Janette Stephens.
I love how when you say my name, it's not just Janette, it's the full name. You gotta break up.
Yeah, exactly.
Too fun. So we definitely want to do some reminiscing before we dive into Catering Christmas. And a lot of people on this page found you because you played Jack Thornton, our beloved character. And he's the namesake of this page, obviously. And since it hit 10 seasons, we're all kind of nostalgic. And when you look over your 5 years on the show, what stands out to you? What was your favorite part?
It's a great question because, over 5 years, there's just so many great memories. I made a lot of friends on that show. I really enjoyed, look, I just liked where it was shot. I loved Vancouver. I loved working with the horses. I loved the crew. It was a really fun place to come to work. The vibe there was always good. Um, so to pick one thing about it, it's really difficult. But I will say that, we created some magic in that time there. When you start a television series, you don't know if it's going to work or not. Last Resort is a perfect example. That was, one of my favorite parts ever. And it did one season. And there's, politics involved with that. And there's the DVR coming in and people not knowing how to take ratings. And, things changed right around that time. And then when Calls the Heart came to me, it was like, hey, if it doesn't work, that's okay. I've been through that. If it does, then great. And yeah, there were so many good memories during that time that it's really hard for me to pick just one. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah,
I think that's the answer. I
everyone
think that's the answer.
there you go. Well, everyone who works on there talks about how it's such a family and that it's really the people cast and not just the cast, but the crew there. People stay on the show a long time and it just seems like such a family.
Yeah, I mean, family. I've lost touch with a lot of people, but certainly when I was working there, it was. People say that when they work on something, it's like we're family.
Yeah.
You kind of find people that you worked with that you stay in touch with, that you kind of like, that end up coming from that professional world and being a part of your real life, and you only find that out after being away from it for a while. So so I had a tremendous experience, and it was a really tight knit group while I was there. And then time goes by, and it's however many years later now, and some people stick and some people don't. So
yeah,
that's life.
like any job, right? You find some people you connect with and you move on. And
exactly right.
Well, you brought up Last Resort, and one of the other things I thought we'd talk about today, you and I have known each other a long time, but we've never really talked a lot about some of your other non-When Calls the Heart roles. And there's been some really cool ones along the way. And I was wondering if you'd be down for me to running down a few. And
please, go ahead.
Yeah, and just share like the first thing that comes to mind about it. Like, was the set cool? Was the role really cool? Just what comes to mind when I mention
Sure.
them.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you're down. So
easy. This is going to be the easiest interview ever. Whatever you want,
No.
I'm in.
I ask the hard-hitting questions here at Team Dion.
You can, by the way, you can ask whatever you want.
Okay. Okay, so you were Ben in Eye Candy. What do you think of? What comes to mind with that one?
Yeah, I actually booked the lead of that, but I couldn't do it because of When Calls the Heart. So they gave me a nice recurring on it.
Yeah.
And it was great. You know, I think Victoria Justice is just such a sweet person. She's really talented in so many areas. So I loved working with her. The part was great. You know, it's kind of like that young adult into, you know, that kind of CW kind of audience. It was on MTV. Yes. I think they had it on like at 9:30 p.m. on a Monday night. I think that was the wrong time slot for that show, but because that one I believe that did one season. They should have, you know, I'm just an actor coming in for recurring, so my opinion means nothing. But I wish it just got more of a run and a bit more exposure for that audience, because I think it was really, really fun show. I thought it had some cute moments in it, and as far as the character for me was concerned, it was really fun to play. I mean, it was easy. You know, this like, you know, young cop that's kind of fallen in love with his, you know, his mark. Yeah. Or his charge rather. He's got to look after this girl. And I always like that, you know, that undercurrent of romance in extraordinary circumstances. You know, it's always nice for me as an actor, and certainly as a young man coming up, they're always the films I wanted to watch. If there was look, I like my action movies, but if there's like a romance undercurrent in that, that really speaks to me. You know, if I watch Lord of the Rings, I want Aragorn to be with Erewhon, you know, like, you know, it's that thing. So I like that element about that show. I thought that was cute. And then also, you know, it's kind of like this thriller, drama thriller thing where I get my throat slit. But
yeah, when you're using the word cute, I'm thinking, well, it was cute, but it was also a little dark.
Yeah, well, that's it. There's these cute moments in that, and I love that kind of juxtaposition there. That kind of like duality. So you can have these sweet moments in pretty heavy circumstances. I always like that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. A December Bride. You were Seth. That was a fun one with Jessica.
That was my first Christmas movie ever. That was Jessica Lowndes. That was really great. You know, like I look back on that with such fond memories. Yeah. You know, I like that we got to play. We shot it in Vancouver. It was just my first experience outside When Calls the Heart in that world. So those Christmas, I've done 4 Christmas movies now in this world, and When Calls the Heart, and you know, I really enjoyed. It's always fun, you know. What can I say with stuff like this? It's not too demanding. I don't feel out of my comfort zone. I didn't feel out of my comfort zone then. I like to feel out of my comfort zone though, because that's when you're just out of your comfort zone. That's where the magic happens. That's where you grow. Yeah, that's where real creativity starts to spark. So for me, I won't say that these kind of films like, you know, A December Bride was out of my comfort zone, but I had a lot of fun on it. And that's what you can do. You know, it's this real feel good, uplifting kind of content that audiences, especially this audience, loves. So I really love being a part of that for that reason.
And when you have that fun element, it always makes it nice to feel less like work. Like, you know, just go to work.
Honestly, you know, if you, as they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And even when things get hard, if you've got that passion, then even when you are working hard, it's fulfilling work, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely. So I feel fulfilled in this industry. You know, just a side note here, when I was 18 years old, figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, whether I wanted to go to university or whether I wanted to dive straight into music or what, travel, I didn't know. I was working in a stainless steel pipe and tube factory, and I was driving a forklift, and my mate's dad owned the business, and I was working there, and I was a factory worker for 9 months or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And got my forklift driving license. I was shipping stainless steel pipe and tube,
Yeah.
So I had that experience of, work for a paycheck. And then I had done other things as well, where I'd been a booking agent for a thing. I've done a whole bunch of different things. I've had different chapters in my life.
Yeah.
And it never feels like work when I'm acting. And when all this stuff is like gravy. This is a very, very lucky profession to have. It can be very challenging at times if you are very passionate about it and you've got goals and dreams, but they are high class problems. It's not problems at all. It's just pursuing one's passion and one's dream, which if you are afforded, if you are lucky enough to pursue that, then what a wonderful, wonderful life. Yeah. And if not, then I hope that everyone has passions and pursues other things outside the work world, because there's those, you have passions within work, which is the type of person I am. And then you've got passions elsewhere as well, as I do as well outside of work. But passion.
You never lack that. We we always get that in all your performances. So that's awesome.
That's it. Yeah.
The Rookie was one, I think that came pretty close after you left When Calls. That was one of your first roles, where you played Sterling / what was it? What did his name end up being?
Yeah, that's a funny story. I think that would have gone for a little bit longer, but there was a thing that I missed an episode. I was traveling, and I think they just wrote me off the show. So, oops. Yeah, the thing is, though, when you're a recurring role, they never tell you when you're going to shoot. They just like, hey, is Daniel available next week? Oh no, he's not. Oh well. But anyway, that's a whole long story. I would have flown back for it, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So that was great. I enjoyed that. I think I did SWAT before then, after When Calls Are Heart, for like 5-6 episodes, and then did that one. Then but that one was an interesting character. I played a gay actor that ended up falling in love with Titus Mackin Jr.'s character on the show. He's a cop, and he, was open within the precinct and all that kind of stuff. And that was something that was very, very different from When Calls Are Heart. It was, I wouldn't say it was a challenging role, but I really wanted to be truthful to the character and, just do my job as truthfully as I possibly could. So that was number one, fun, because Titus and I became fast friends, and it was great because I really liked the introduction to this character, and I think that there could have been some more elements as the story went on, but that wasn't meant to be. So I mean, it kind of slowly faded, and then
Jackson's character met his demise too eventually. The character of Titus's, that's right.
Yeah. So I think that there was a few things going on there, but look, I enjoyed the part. I played it to the best of my ability, for what it was, and also the time you have to prepare as well. If I would really love to have, there might be something coming up that I actually do have like months to prepare for it, to, work on a voice and a body and this and that, because there's a contract at the moment. We're seeing how that plays out, but that would be great. That's a really good thing to do, to really be able to sort of sink your teeth into a character. I felt like The Rookie was a really great, and still a great television show. It's definitely got their audience. It's that network cop drama. I love that stuff. That's really fun. I would happily, and I've done so many auditions for these things. But happily play in that world again. Military, cop, that kind of procedural thing. I like that a lot. Well, that's more of a story arc. They kind of do their missions every episode, the cases every episode, fixed in with like character arcs. I think that's the formula now. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's probably one of the challenges with just a recurring, because you do feel like you can't really sink your teeth into it because you don't know how many times you're going to be there, things like that. Yeah, it would be a challenge.
Oh yeah. Exactly. But it was cool. I didn't love that they made the character a liar, lied about everything. I think that was a bit of a like, let's get it, we'll take the piss, skip it young, like whatever. That in truth pissed me off, but I did the best job I could with it, and onwards we go, so that's just what it is, and you can't, as an actor, you just play what is given to you to the best of your ability. And that's what I always try and do.
Just a couple more. Two of my favorites that you've done, of course, James King, Last Resort, one of your first. I still love going back and watching those episodes, and that has to make you really nostalgic because that was your first big. I
gotta say, like I know this might be controversial what I'm about to say now. I love Jack Thornton. But I got to say, that first time for me playing James King, working with Navy SEALs, shooting in Hawaii, it was one season, but man, oh man, I mean, that one for me, the people involved with that as well. Look, When Calls Are Hard is a very, very, very special job. It's a special job. Last Resort is a very, very, very special job. It was my first one. It was the first time I'm like, hey, Mom, Dad, guess what? I'm going to America to be a television star. Like, come on. And I was just really, I'm working with actors like Andre Braugher, Robert Patrick, Scott Speedman.
Seriously,
I mean, Emmy award-winning actors, you name it. I mean, just, and then doing scenes with them going, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I'm just some kid from the beach, man. Like I felt really lucky and grateful, but I didn't have the belief that I do now. And it's funny, I've never had more belief in myself, and I've never found it really harder to just get to that next place. But when that does happen, it's not gonna, because I've got some things that I want to achieve, obviously, but it's a journey, it's a process, right? So I look back at that and go, God, I wish I could again. I want to play him now because I think I could bring something so much more, like, so much more depth to it, so much more juicy, so much more grounded, So I look back at that. I always find it hard to watch myself, so I don't very often. But that part for me was really special. That was really special. I'm so grateful to those casting agents. I mean, Wendy Weinman cast that one, and and Sean Ryan and Carl Gedges that created that show. And I look back and I think to myself, how did that happen? But it did happen, and now I live in America. If that didn't happen, I could be working in Australia. I could be who knows, because I moved away from all of my family and my friends. I started a brand new life here. Things could be very different if that show didn't happen. So that was the start. Right. And then that afforded me not even an audition for When Calls the Heart, but just a meeting. One script reader going, do you want it? Who do you want to work with? That opened the When Calls the Heart door for me,
Right.
And so when I met the team at Hallmark at that time, that was really off the back of that, and that was really special. It was funny. I just had finished my first on the ground pilot season. So after Last Resort was cancelled, I was like, man, what am I going to do? I was just living in Hawaii. I'd never lived on the mainland. I'd never been to LA, or I lived in LA. And I was like, you know what? This is my time. It's my time. I'm going to get a fully furnished place. I'm going to pay my monthly rent, and I'm going to do pilot season from the ground. And I had in Australia, you get a script, right?
Yeah.
And you have a week to read it and prepare it and come into the room with a character, something full of life, and you can workshop it. And, I just feel like it's a little bit more forgiving for actors. But coming here and for that first pilot season was like, oh, Daniel Lissing, that guy that no one ever heard of, just is free now, right? He's available after doing that show. And that was like, so my agents and manager were like, okay, listen, you're going to have a lot of auditions. And so for pilot season, which has changed a lot now, by the way, it's basically all through the year, and pilot season is not what it used to be. Gotcha. Everyone's self-taping now as well, rather than going in the room because of this pandemic. But it was in the room then, and it sort of goes from about start of February to sort of mid-March. That's about it, right? And for that 6-week period, 5 days a week, I had no less than 2 auditions a day. 5 pages, 10 pages, whatever it was. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. And I had the weekend to kind of like get these scripts, and I was a wreck by the end of it. I tested. So when you test, you get to those final guides. So you get the call back, and then you go in and you test, and then they choose the guide. So I tested twice in that first pilot season for 2 different shows, and I missed out on both times, obviously. And I was just sitting there in April, just going, what just happened? I just went like 50 auditions in like, however many days or whatever it was. And just trying to like get my head around like, okay, how many opportunities did I just miss? What's auditioning? I had to learn a whole new thing, and I still hate. I don't use that word. I don't use that word often. I hate auditioning. Just give me the part and I'll kill it.
Exactly.
But when it comes to auditioning, it's that thing. It's a head game. I've sort of changed my tune a little bit now, where I know my value, if you know what I mean, as a hey, this is my take on it. This is what I want to do with it. And if it's right, it's right. And if it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at now. But I really struggled with the whole auditioning thing for a long time. And I still do occasionally if I'm not really kind of across the material, really sharp with it, really doing what I want to do with it. But I kind of sat there in that April after that first pilot season, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be, I come off this thing and I think, hey, yeah, I'm going to just do something else. And when I was testing, I was like, yes, let's do this. But it kind of didn't work out. And I was like, okay, what's next? What do we do? None. Don't worry about it, man. It's only your first pilot season. You're sweet. You're going to have a million auditions in there. About 2 weeks later, I get this phone call saying, hey, listen, Hallmark Channel are doing the original series. They want to meet you. Okay. So I go and sit down with all those folks and have a chat, and I meet the other actors there. You know, not the other actors I didn't meet anyone for me, but I met the two girls that were going for Elizabeth, and they'd been through this audition process already.
Yeah.
And you know, it just worked out where they offered me the part and, you know, asked my opinion of the actors that were there. And obviously Erin was just by far and away, like, you know, the right person for Elizabeth. Not that it was my decision, but that was, they did ask me, and they're like, yeah, we agree. And so
I won't make you tell the keychain story again. You're good. Oh no!
I've literally still got it here.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too fun.
Well, it's my sister here.
Oh, this is breaking. We've never seen it.
That's it.
Oh, look at that. Oh, very cool.
So it says, you are right where you should be.
Classic.
And my sister, so when I was shooting Last Resort, I think I'll always have that, because I flew my sister over to Hawaii, and she just stayed with me for 10 days or whatever it was. And she bought me, was it Hawaii? Yes, it was Hawaii. And she just gave me that as a little gift and a little like memento, and I just thought it was sweet, and I think of my sister every time I look at it.
That's very cool. I love that your first job in the States too was in Hawaii. Like what?
No. It was really funny. When I did that audition, I sort of did a Skype call with Sean Ryan and Carl Gadgesek, the creators. They've done a billion other things since then. They're still, you know, pretty, you know, prolific in the industry, especially Sean. He's just, you know, doing his thing. But I sort of did the audition, and they looked at the tape and all that kind of stuff, and I got on the phone with them, and they're like, so you wanna move to Hawaii? Would you move to Hawaii? And I'm like, yeah, I'll move to Hawaii to work. And he's like, all right, leave it with us, see you, mate. And I was like, okay, bye. I was like, what does that mean? And I didn't hear anything for 4 days. I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 4 days. I remember just like my phone's going to ring any second, right? And I'm going to be either moving to Hawaii to shoot this big ABC television show, or I'm just going to go back to the drawing board. But everything in my body, everything in my mind, everything that I saw, felt, just told me, no, it's just meant, it's mine. You know, it's just meant to be. It's the same thing I felt with When Calls the Heart. Anything I've ever booked, I've been like, yeah.
Oh, right. Oh,
they're idiots if they don't. I always said idiots if they don't hire me. You know, this is so mine. This is my part. And there's been a few times. I tested for 2 things last year, and I didn't get it, and I should have, in my opinion, by far. Right. And that's just my confidence in myself, and also because I've seen the product that I have, and I'm like, come on, man, like I could have killed that. What are you doing?
Yeah, seriously.
What
names it?
Maybe it's egotistical to say, but you know, if there's one thing, I don't think I'm an egotistical person at all. But when it comes to my work and my acting, I'm pretty like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we're going to need some names so we can write strongly worded letters to those people.
No. It's all meant to be, you know, at the end of the day. I say that now in good humor, but you know, for me, I really, really believe that it's meant to be. You know, when I left When Calls the Heart, it was meant to be. My journey between now and then meant to be and whatever happens next is going to be the right thing. So it's all part of the the journey, and
Yeah.
and you got to remember that. Well, I got to remember that all this stuff, it's not that important, really. It's not that important at the end of the day, and when you figure out really what is really important here, universally, spiritually, then this stuff becomes a really fun process and a fun journey, as seriously as I take it, and as hurt as I've been, and as high as I've been, and whatever else, there are fundamental things that are always, always, always more important.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Very cool. Well, I feel like we need to get into Catering Christmas, so we're going to run out of time.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Okay, so that's coming up. We're less than 2 weeks out, October 29th on Great American Family. And Merritt Patterson is your co-star, who I think is super talented. And I know you haven't worked with her before, but had you met her before you worked on this project? Or
no, never met her before. I was flying with Nadia. We were on the plane from LA to where were we flying? Toronto, LA to Toronto, and she came up to me and she's like, "Daniel?" I'm like, "Yeah, Merritt." Yeah, I was like, "Okay, cool, we're on the same flight." So she was just super friendly right away. She takes her work as seriously as I do. We both have our opinions on the way the scenes should go. We come together, we make it the best it can be. And I really like Merritt. I think she's a good human being. I think she's really, really talented. And I think that I haven't seen it, to tell the truth. I just have a feeling about it. I haven't seen it yet. So I want to get a copy of it so I can send it to my family back home, because they love watching that stuff. Yeah. But I have just a very strong feeling in my recollection of being on set and hitting these beats in these scenes. We watched a little bit of playback there on set as well. It's some beautiful stuff there. There's some great chemistry there. There's some really nice moments that create that tension that you love. You want that tension at the start, and then you want that tension to grow into romance, right? So to do that in the right way, with the right kind of pacing and tempo through the movie, I think we nailed that. I think we hit the right beats at the right time. And there are supporting characters in this movie that are just wonderful, wonderful actors, and really, really just wonderful people to be around. So the whole crew and the actors that were on this thing were just really enjoyable to be around. I think the story's cute. Look, we know these stories, these Christmas movies. We've seen them. We know the formula, but they work for a reason. It's because there is this beautiful levity to it, especially now. Like, we're kicking off the GAC Christmas at the end of this month, and it's like the weather's starting to get cold. Right. Kind of get on your couch, you get nice and cozy with your family, with your friends, by yourself, whatever. And you watch these movies, and especially Catering Christmas. So, I mean, I'm vouching for my movie because we set out to make people feel good. We set out to make something that is in the spirit of love and family and peace, and it's beautiful to watch characters in that world, especially now. I think there's a lot going on out there that is stressful. I'll just say stressful. I've got stronger words that I want to use, but really it's like there's a lot happening right now that a lot of people are feeling a lot of things about. So what do? We make beautiful Christmas movies so people can just have a little bit of respite, just remember a little bit about just settling down and coming from that place of love and watching these really cozy kind of movies. And I love being a part of it because it is putting something good out into the world, and we need a little bit more of that.
Yeah. So Merritt plays Molly Frost and you play Carson Harrison. Can you tell us a little bit about Carson?
Sure. When I read the script, I felt like he was kind of immature. I felt like he kind of didn't take anything too seriously. He's this guy that travels the world. He's a photographer. He's sort of passionate about it, but not really truly. He doesn't speak to his heart. He just kind of enjoys the lifestyle, I think, And when we meet him, he's very light. I try to play it like that, I think. Just the way he sort of approaches things, it's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm just going to do this thing. He plays around a little bit. Does that make sense? I was doing my, rather than using words, I was using sounds. Okay. You get what I mean.
We totally got it. Totally got it.
All right, good. Yes. And so, I find that he's got this relationship with his auntie, and I think it's a really beautiful relationship. And she keeps asking him to take on more responsibility, take on a little bit more responsibility with the family foundation, right? Which is very, very important to this town, this community, and very important to his family. And he's always been reluctant to take the reins. But when his aunt is sort of feeling a little bit stressed, a little bit sick, he takes over this Christmas gala that they do every single year, in which Merritt's character, Molly, is being hired as the caterer. So he has to engage with her through this for this Christmas gala, kind of lead the way. She ends up teaching him way more than he teaches her. And in the process of them kind of butting heads in the beginning and then kept becoming closer, he starts to become the man that his family always hoped he would be. And he starts to realize that maybe these things that he was doing before that he wasn't amazingly passionate about. He loves photography. He's passionate about it, but not the lifestyle that it comes with, right? And so is there a way for him to kind of take that passion and merge it with the man that he's becoming and the responsibilities he has at home? And through his relationship with Molly, he comes to a decision about what he's going to do. And you'll have to watch to find out. I don't think you'll be surprised. But, I like his journey. I feel like the way I thought about it anyway, I don't know if it came across because, they shoot the scenes and the director gives you direction and it is what it is tonally. But I tried to have this guy, yes, be empathetic, but also kind of just be a little bit kind of loose and a little bit naive to I didn't really know what any of this meant to so many people. And he's kind of a little immature about it, a little naive about it. And then as he starts to realize and grow and connect with this woman, he ends up becoming the man that I think he was always meant to be. So I liked his journey.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you talk about it because it sounds a lot. My next question was kind of, in such a saturated market where there's a lot of Christmas films and now a lot of networks and a lot of streamers, streaming services producing them. I mean, even the mainstream network, CBS is doing them now, and there's a lot coming at us. So I was going to ask what makes it a little different. And it almost sounds like it's a lot about Carson's journey. A lot of times in these films, it's the leading lady's journey. Do you know what I mean? Kind of finding their way. And in this one, it sounds a lot like it's a lot of Carson's journey.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's a little point of difference there. Yeah, I mean, look, this is such a huge market this time of year. That's why everyone else is doing it, because of what Bill Abbott did at Hallmark. He grew that network 35% a year for 10 years or something ridiculous, um, he created that model that he's brought now over to GAC, and with a great team, I would add, around him at both networks. But that is, look, there's so many people around the world that watch this stuff. There is enough content to go around. Everyone is now kind of, I would say, jumping on the bandwagon. It just makes sense with such a good business model to kind of follow it. So there's Christmas movies coming out everywhere now, but each have their own thing. There's certain ones that I've seen that are kind of Christmas movies, but more like rom-coms set around Christmas time. And then there's other ones that are really like, it's about Christmas and the spirit of Christmas. Right. And then you've got a little bit of both with these, GSC movies. So I like that. I like being part of it. It's certainly, it's a good job to have. We kind of shoot these movies in pretty quick time. Right. And there's long days of work, but the crews that jump on these things are phenomenal, and they've done a lot of these before. And so, you know what you're going to get with them. But I think Catering Christmas, you'll have to tell me, and you've seen it actually, haven't you? So you got to tell me, is there some magic there? I felt like there was on set. Is there some nice bits, nice moments?
Yeah, you and Merritt, definitely. You're onto something there. With the once the two of them met and that story started, that it really took off for me, and the chemistry there. And it was neat how she's very much kind of the rock, and she already knows what she wants out of life, and she helps Carson kind of work through his journey, which is really cool. So
that's right. Yeah, I mean, she's great. I mean, she was great to work with. I think that there was chemistry. There was on-screen chemistry there. There just was. So I'm glad that translated. It felt like it did on the day, but you just never know what translates and what doesn't.
Yeah. So I'm glad you remember anything about this film, because you filmed it so long ago, wasn't it? Like March or April? It was really.
I can't remember. When was it? I don't know.
I feel like it was April. I think I looked up a couple on-set things, and it was April.
Okay, it was April.
But,
fair enough.
You're like, sure, that's it.
Yeah.
But, you filmed in a little town called Sudbury, right? Is that where you were? So were there? You've shot in Vancouver and LA, and that has to be a totally different vibe when you're shooting in such a small town and kind of remote area. And
I've shot in North Bay before.
Oh yes, yeah.
That was a small town. It was really cute, So Sudbury's about an hour from North Bay. Sudbury, it's a mining town. It's an industrial town, so it has its problems in regards to. Well, I mean, look. It's an industrial town, it's a mining town. Fantastic. No, that's not the issue. The issue is they open a methadone clinic up there, and the streets are not safe to walk around.
Oh,
so
oh wow.
Yeah. So not in certain areas, I will say. Sudbury itself is stunning, not in that like main city part, but as soon as you sort of get out, there's got these beautiful lakes. I mean, it's like, I think it's something crazy, like 90 lakes in that little region or something, like maybe even more. Yeah. All the people from Sudbury right now, or Canada right now, going, no, it's 500. No, it's 50. But I will say that the area and the nature there is just absolutely stunning. The people, fantastic that I met. Just found it a little bit dodgy in some parts,
So when you go to set, do you take your guitar? Do you find little places to play while you're working, or is it pretty much 3 weeks of nonstop?
No, yeah. I mean, we did 6-day shoot weeks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And these films, these two lead characters are pretty much in like 90% of the scenes, so
Mm-hmm.
we really were working like a lot.
Yeah.
And on my off days, they just had a little pool and a little gym there at a movie theater, so I kind of went out. Nadia was there with me for I think the first half, and then she flew on back, and then it was great though. I really like. I will go back to Sudbury. I actually had a great time there. I don't want to say anything too bad about Sudbury.
Yeah.
Like, I actually had a fantastic time there. I really loved shooting there, and I would shoot there again. But it was, there was a couple of little things that stood out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to tune in for that, and when we're all the way done here, I'll remind people when to watch. But one of the last things I wanted to ask, Team DL is known as the place to get the latest info on you. So is there anything coming up that you can tease, or anything that you can even talk about yet? Or?
No, I can't talk about it yet. But there is something coming up.
Okay.
So I will just say, like, look, there's a cool possibility. My team's just working it out now, so we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But there's some projects coming up. I mean, Mike Good and myself have been working since I left When Calls Are Hard on our own TV show, and we've written like 10 pilots, reiterated it over and over again. Now we've kind of got like our first season really mapped out, and we're putting together our pitch package now. And like, I think just that creative process outside of actually being on set and working, because it's, I mean, my first love really in this industry, and I'm creating my own, to do that in my own way and really what I want to do, the kind of content that I want to be doing. I'm very excited about that project and the possibilities of where that could go. But that will be a next year and beyond kind of thing. And then, I've got a couple of offers recently, so I'm just kind of weighing a few things up and seeing what I want to do. But there's stuff coming.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for all that good stuff. And then how's life in general? I dove right into questions and didn't even get how's Nadia and little Oscar? Everybody doing well?
Great. Yeah, my personal life is always takes priority, over everything, because I think that when you have a stable, a good home life, you've got your priorities right, then all the other stuff is just gravy on top, So the home that we're creating and life that we're creating, just day-to-day stuff, just feeling healthy, just looking after each other, supporting each other with whatever. I mean, going shopping, going to the park with Oscar, whatever it is. That's the stuff that, facilitates the time for me to go away and go, okay, this is now time to put the head down and work. So all the personal stuff is always good.
Well, and you just got back from that amazing vacation too, that we also, you tortured us with those videos. And
I'm sorry, not sorry. Look, Nadia turned 30 years old, and it's always her dream to go to the Maldives. And on the Maldives, if you don't know, is this island chain. It stretches about 600 miles in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So it's right in between sort of India and Sri Lanka and Africa. So right there in that big expanse of water, nothing around it. Wow. And I believe there's 19 different atolls, they're called. And in these atolls, there's like dotted islands around. The atolls are kind of like the section, the reef of this kind of area. And there's 19 that's spread all over the Maldives. And that was her dream was always to go to the Maldives. And if it wasn't her 30th birthday, maybe her 40th or whatever, but it was just something that she really, really wanted to do. And, you know, I love celebrating milestones. I love celebrating things worth celebrating, whatever it is. I think that we've got to give ourselves that. You know, you can't be all work and be like, okay, no, let's celebrate life. Let's celebrate each other. Let's celebrate our wins. Let's commiserate our losses, you know? So when a great milestone like a decade birthday comes along, let's celebrate it, you know? So we went to New York for a few days. We love New York. We spent some time there. We went to Dubai for the very first time. I've actually got a couple of different friends there, living there, that we connected up. We all went out for dinner and drinks and whatever. And then we flew down to the Maldives for 10 days, and we stayed on this little island, and it was this resort called Velisaru, and it was just, you could walk around the island in like 15, 20 minutes or something like that, you know?
Oh, no kidding.
And it had like 5 different restaurants on there, but very chill, very, very chill. I didn't wear shoes. Like I wore shoes the first day, like sandals, you know what I mean? And then afterwards it was like, I don't even know if I'll put a t-shirt on today, you know, like.
Well, it looked like you practically had the place to yourself. It hardly looked like there were other guests around.
There was, but they do it in such a way that it's like really, there's a lot of, I think it was like 75% full.
Oh, okay.
You know, but you still have great privacy, you know. You can still find little like we had a really nice sort of private beach villa. We didn't go over the water because I like trees and sand and things. And I thought if you're just over the water, you're not in the nature. You get to see the water and the nature of the water, but I really like palm trees. I really like, you know, feeling the sand beneath my toes, and you know, same with Nadia. So it was basically our decision, but even though it was her birthday. So.
Well, it looked amazing, that's for sure.
Yeah. It was a good one. It was a good one. For sure.
Well, I just want to say thanks again for spending some time with us today. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll remind everybody to watch Catering Christmas, October 29th. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I don't know if you heard, Dan, but Canada is getting it, which is good news.
Oh, great.
Super Channel Heart and Home is bringing it to Canada, but not until December 2nd. So we'll definitely post a reminder when that comes up. And
that's good. Yeah.
And we hope everyone will tweet. Hashtag. I'll get like one tweet out of Dan. We'll see if we can get one tweet. He's like, no.
I don't have cable. I don't know what it's on. I can't watch the, you know. Yeah. But
well, I'll be tweeting. So it's hashtag.
Please tweet away.
Hashtag Catering Christmas. So we'll see everybody there. Anything you want to wrap up, say to the fans?
I love you all. Thanks very much. That's it.
All right. Thanks again.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Bye.